Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we are super happy to have you here, and we just ask that you bring an open mind and heart to your listening experience, and to be prepared to explore vantage points that I'm convinced will help shift or solidify your current understanding of the ultimate nature of reality in a way that is extremely empowering. Speaking of exploring powerful perspectives, I'm super excited to announce the release of my very first book, The Golden Key: Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance. In the book, which the concept for was initially shown to me in a dream and has been followed by a next level amount of synchronicity, I share the keys to manifesting abundance that I've personally discovered over 25 years of trial, error, and deep exploration of these key perspectives, as well as one golden key that ultimately ties them all together. Waking up our planet by sharing these keys to abundance is the quickest way I know of to help us to transition our home into the planet of paradise it is destined to become, which is why I would like to gift the book to you at goldenkey.gift when you use the golden key code POSITIVEHEAD. I'd also like to invite you to create your own unique golden key code so you in turn can gift the book to others, as well as invite you to participate in a unique abundance manifestation game with me and the other readers that is outlined in detail at the end of the book and on the website, where readers will also share the inspiring results of their abundance manifestation experiments. Lastly, I am going to practice what I preach by sharing 50% of the abundance generated from the game and sale of the other golden goodies on the site with you and the other readers. So if you're ready to alchemize the circumstances in your life so that your abundance expands to an entirely new level, head over to goldenkey.gift to download the audio or ebook as my gift to you by using the code POSITIVEHEAD. All right, all you positive heads, welcome, welcome. It is a very special day today. In lieu of our normal interview style soul share, it is myself, and I have another, I guess you could say, guest here with me. Who's here with me?
Oh, just me. Hello, everyone. How are you? It's so nice to be with you, B. It's been so long.
We have done this. We've done this a while back, probably a year or so ago, for something.
Yeah, I think it was about a year. Way too long.
Maybe a little more. And here's the reason, guys. Today, as you may guess, is the day that the Golden Key is actually going to be released to the world. Goldenkey.gift. Yes, so excited. It has been such a journey. This whole thing has been, and you guys have heard me talk about it along the way. I talk about being overly optimistic on time frames and what it would take to write a book, edit a book, deal with the publisher, an audiobook, a website that has this whole gamification element and aspect to it. It has been, it's been a lot, and I definitely learned some things along the way. And so I asked Erica here, as the fates would have it for this week's Soul Share, the person that was scheduled to come on and I was going to do our regular interview had to reschedule last minute. And I was like, of course, on the day that I'm ready to release. And of course, Erica, always being the good sport that she is, agreed to come on and chat it up with me a little bit about the Golden Key and what it's about and how it all works. And
And I'm so excited because I want to learn more about this. And I'm excited to ask you questions about it because this book, you gave me a little sneak peek, and this book is amazing, you guys. And I just think that the timing of it is absolutely perfect. It is divine. And yeah, I know it's been a process and there's been a lot going on for you, but what have you learned? Tell me about the process and what you've learned going through this.
Well, for one, I've realized how much easier it is to just verbally, maybe puke's the wrong word, just expound everything you want to say. It's one thing the way you talk. into a podcast, for example, if you were to take and transcribe our conversation, it would look pretty messy with a lot of run-on sentences and a lot of, things. So it's one thing to just talk. And that's one of the reasons I really wanted to do a podcast originally, because I knew it's like, oh, it's so efficient. I can just talk, get it out there. It doesn't have to be perfect and edited. Well, a book is the exact opposite end of that, right? It is like, as Karen, my partner talks about, who's a speech therapist, just got her master's. It takes the most mental faculty of any of the communication forms. It calls on everything. And what may sound good speaking written out is a whole different thing. So it was, I can bust this out really quick. Then you go back and read it out loud and you're like, oh my gosh, like that sounds ridiculous. Like, so it took some, definitely a learning experience. And then of course, as you guys know, who've been listening for a long time, and, followers of the show, I originally planned to release it on January 5th, then January 18th. And then I said, you know what? Screw that. I'm not saying anything. I'm not going to give another date because I don't want to be wrong again. It's going to be released in divine timing. And that was definitely a big part of the learning for me was, when you put unnecessary deadlines on yourself. Now I get it. There's a time and a place where you have to have a deadline. In this case, because I'm self-publishing, because of the uniqueness, I'm gifting the book to you guys, as we'll talk about a bit more here today. Because I'm not beholden to some publisher or whatever, I didn't really have to come up with a deadline. I imposed that on myself. And then, of course, I greatly overestimated or underestimated how much it would take. And so, and it adds stress that's not necessary. So I think, so much in our life, we try and say, okay, this is where I got to be. By the time I'm 30, I have to accomplish this. And we set these arbitrary deadlines that actually take the joy out of the process. Yeah. And so one of my biggest learnings from this is, Brandon, do not set a deadline unless you absolutely have to, because yes, it's been a really fun project. It's been a lot of work to get it up to this point. And there's plenty of work to do now to even get it out there and all those things. But it would have been more enjoyable if I had not arbitrarily set a deadline and then set a second one. And then like, oh gosh, now I'm not going to meet the second one. Stress, anxiety, all those things. And so that was a big, unplanned on learning from the whole experience for me.
I love that. What a good lesson. Just having patience with yourself, patience with the process, and just understanding that all will happen in divine timing as long as you just go with the flow. And you're doing
everything.
Work. Yeah.
Everything.
And be easy on yourself, right? Yeah.
Gosh, it's such a, I always say we teach best what we most need to learn. And that is a big one for me. I've been such a, go-getter kind of my whole life. And so, and then I find myself, in those states of like, you need to meditate and not go work harder, not jump out of bed and work for 14 hours straight without stopping, And so, that comes easier to, easier lesson for some than others, I suppose. And with the way I'm wired, it's particularly gotten challenged with this process.
But isn't it interesting that even though you're wired like that, still the universe was like, hey, we're going to slow this down, whether you want to slow it down or not. We are slowing this down. There's a reason.
Exactly. Yeah. It became very apparent with some of the roadblocks and things that I would hit and challenges and issues. It's like, okay, Brandon, like, if you can just remain calm about it and just the only way through it is through it. And sometimes it feels like you're swimming through cement. And that's, next thing you know, you're going to look back and you'll have, laid a path across the desert, and it's like, oh, wow, hold on. I connected A and B finally, but when you're in the middle of that, it can seem daunting. So yeah, I think that's a big takeaway for me. And, as far as the book itself, I mean, you guys have been hearing me talk, quite a bit about it. It depends whether this is your first time listening or you've been listening for 5 years. Maybe different people have different amount of insight, but, we can talk a little bit about that. I don't know if you have any questions that you think would be good is a good place to start. Erica, I'm pretty close to it. So it's, sometimes I don't have quite the same view as maybe someone just being exposed the questions they would ask or think to ask.
Well, yeah. Well, what I'm curious about, we just talked about the roadblocks that you've experienced along the way, but before we really get into the book and what it's about, I want to talk about the synchronicities involved in writing it too.
Yeah, well, they've been next level for me. I don't know about you. You and I haven't jumped on a call and talked in a minute, and so the last month or so has been a whole nother level. I mean, it just is. It's so much and so nonstop. It's just like, it's silly. It's in the layers. I mean, I can't even track it all. I share on the show when I think about it, what I can, but there's so many and so, it's happening so much. I forget them all. It's becoming like even more normal than it always, I've always been like a little kid about it. Super excited with the synchronicities, but some of the big ones I've shared, I'll just touch on again. The book itself came to me, in a dream, and that was on the backs of Optimistic and the show, thinking it was going to be on Amazon, and then them stringing us along for many, many months, and then all of a sudden dropping us like out of nowhere. And I'm like, okay, why is this happening for me? One of the first things that came to mind is, okay, well, if I'm going to be self-releasing the rest of the episodes and in future seasons, perhaps, then I need to. I can't do retreats right now because of COVID, and so that was sort of the thing that I was tying in as far as because the thing is when you're doing any business, like a show, it's very expensive. You have to have some monetization model if CBS isn't funding you or Netflix isn't funding you, and so it's like, okay, well, the retreats were helping to keep all of that going. And then that put on sacred pause, and it's like, okay, well, what will I do? And then I had a dream about giving away a book, which I don't know how much that helps, but actually it does, because there's a very unique approach to it where, you actually have the opportunity to pay for the book via playing a manifestation game, abundance manifestation game at the end of the book. And of course, the book itself is called The Golden Key, Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance. So it's all about that, tapping into your abundance. So yeah, I mean, it came to me, in a dream, and I woke up and I'm like, oh my gosh, the idea for the book subject, how I would do something unique with it, because you guys know me, nothing just sort of exhausts me more than thinking of the idea of releasing something or doing something exactly like someone else. I never listened to a podcast before I started podcasting. I don't, I'm not doing all the things I'm supposed to do on social media. And it's just like, I want to do what feels right. I want to go to the beat of my own drum. That's what's always worked best for me. So if I'm going to release a book, oh gosh, I got to do all the same typical things. And I had this dream about, gifting the book and then allowing people to, making it all about abundance, and then allowing people to pay for it after the fact, and anchor that amount to an abundance manifestation game, where then we're going to track the results of people drumming up, abundance via these exercises that I've put together that they're simple but powerful and fun. And so yeah, it was crazy, Erica, because I went and I looked for, okay, what will I call this book? I had the dream. I woke up. First thing, I was real excited. I was in that elevated state. And so I start searching. Oh, you know what? A perfect name would be The Golden Key. And so I went and searched it. And the first thing that came up was a pamphlet from 1931 by Emmett Fox, one of the founders of sort of New Thought, bridging New Thought and the things we talk about on the show with Christianity. And he had written this pamphlet as well as 21, I think, other essays, and that was the primary one, The Golden Key, where it was all about, like, I mean, in the description on the pamphlet you could order for a couple bucks on Amazon, it's like, I invite you to explore the ideas and don't take my word for it, try it and see for yourself. And, it was like this whole invitation to gamify, which is exactly what I put and would planned in my dream. Like, no, I invite you, don't take my word for any of this, see for yourself. Let's play a game. And so this guy did it 100 years ago with the same name. Then I go and a listener tells me, oh, you don't know his work. Check out his book, Sermon on the Mount, which I think I haven't read it yet, but is about what Jesus really kind of taught and how it really ties in more. Yeah.
And I have that book somehow.
Yeah. Okay. So I went and searched that right after, I forget, listener, whoever you are. Thank you. I forget exactly who it was, but I searched, and that book had been uploaded to Amazon on July 28th, my birthday. And I'm like, oh, okay. So you guys know my birthday synchronicity. And it just kind of continued from there and I've shared, like I said, most of them all along the way, but I suppose for this exercise, for this episode, it makes sense to kind of touch on some of the big ones. I had then decided I just started down the path of writing. I was real excited about, everything that was going on. And I started thinking about how, the idea behind the book was, okay, when I release the rest of the episodes of Optimistic, I have something to talk about. No retreats for now, but hey, go get the golden key, which then if someone's really enjoys it, wants to come, and you can get a golden key necklace. Well, there's a monetization piece. There's you can play the game. There's a monetization piece so that we can keep funding these Optimistic episodes going forward. So I was thinking about all that and how I'd tie it in. And then a song came on by an artist named Murillo, and DJ producer here local. I believe he's in LA area. I think I even met him one time. My friend who just edited the audio book was like, oh, I know him well if you want to meet him. So I'm like, I think I might have met him years ago, but it doesn't matter. His song happened to come on, and it had a remix of a lyric from a Kendrick Lamar song where Kendrick says, my left stroke just went viral. And I'm left-handed, and I'm sitting there thinking about the book. I'm just starting it, how I'll market it, and getting in that excited state driving, which is when I can get into music the most, really get into an elevated state. And so I started thinking about that, and then just fantasizing in that childlike, playful state of, okay, when the book, I feel like this book could really be the thing that elevates the podcast to a whole nother level of reach. Optimistic, getting it really out there. They all feed off of each other, and I have such a sort of a viral model with the book, and people are invited to not only get it for free, but also share it with others. And then sharing the abundance that you generated. I'm sharing 50% of all the abundance generated. So I'm like, okay, this is very viral. This is going to really get out there. Maybe I'll play this song when I'm celebrating the success of the book. And I've been wanting to DJ for a long time, so I would have to work this song into my DJ set. And if I did, well, then I should be cool to have visuals behind the stage and just total fantasizing, imagination, moment driving. And, what would I have on the screen if I was playing this song? Oh, I could show that old Incubus video from 20 years ago where there's a hand drawing, it's like Escher-esque looking, two hands interlinked and drawing. And it's like, oh, that could be cool. And then I could show a golden key after that, right? When he says my left stroke went viral, just playing in my head, I get out of the car in this elevated state. I go in the house, park where I'm going to, open up Instagram. Instantly, there's a post from Brandon Boyd, who I got the name Optimistic from originally, and I have a bunch of synchronicity with. We won't go into all that today, but a post from him with a left hand holding a key, and then the name Optimistic appearing over top of it.
Whoa.
And I'm just like, what? Like, is this for real? And it just, of course, full chills. And yeah, so that's a couple of the big ones, initially. And then more recently, I just announced the other day, and there's been so many in between, from writing about the demiurge story in the book. And all of a sudden, the painting of the demiurge the light above it started blinking. And there's a whole story you guys will read in the book with me and my good friend Vajra, let me back up. I went to Vajra, who's my visionary artist friend, and I share a story of magic in the book with him. And I'm like, okay, he's an incredible artist, but he sells pieces for like 20,000 plus. They take him, years sometimes. I'm like, if I ask him to do the cover art, it might take way too long for my imaginary time frame that I've set up to get the book out, So I reach out to him and I say, hey, Vajra, would you be willing to do the cover art? I don't know if there'd be enough time. It's this golden key thing. It came in a dream, and here's what it's about. And it's about unlocking the keys to abundance, and, and how it's not really about what you invest in or how you spend your money, but the core underlying root of abundance. What we are, we're one with source. all abundance. Everything you see is an extension of self. And really, you guys listening all get that. And my aim is to get that message out to the more average person who hasn't been exposed to 1,000 episodes of me talking incessantly about it, right? And through the doorway of the back door of abundance and making money, which is what most people think about. That's just one form of abundance, right? And so anyway, I'm telling Vajra all about it. I'm excited. And he goes, well, okay, you done? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, now let me tell you about my dream I had like 2 months ago. I was at your house at the Mystic Manor. I was hunting for the key to everything. And he went into this detail. He had pulled out his dream journal. It was a 15-minute read from him about the key to everything dream that he was so inspired for after he had started working on a piece of the key to everything 2 months earlier, which is now what you see, the early stages of it. Then Dalian got involved and helped to digitize it and all the things that the final cover you see. So he's like, to answer your question, will I make the cover for you? I already started it 2 months ago from another dream.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Wow. So I'm not sure if you guys are getting this or not, but this is certainly meant to be out.
It's been made very clear. Very, very clear.
If it's not clear, you're going to need to be smacked upside the head pretty quick.
The universe is screwing with me. So what I started to say a minute ago was then we're deep into writing the book. This is, towards the end, and I'm there and I'm editing with my partner, Karen, who was such an angel in this process. Thank God the universe knew what to send me as far as you'll see in the dedication. I dedicate it to her for helping to distill my infinite perspectives because I'm so verbose and she's so concise and excellent with grammar and it's like, it's like a perfect match. And so she's there editing some part about the demiurge and which is a painting I got from Vajra years ago. And the story shared in the book, and it started blinking like the light above it. And she goes, I'm editing the section in the book about the demiurge, and the painting just blinked at us. And I got full chills more than I've ever gotten in my life in that moment. And like an hour or 2 hours later, my friend Casey, I haven't seen in years, she goes, Brandon, she messaged me on Facebook. Hey, Brandon, this is going to seem weird, but remember years ago when we were at Lucidity, I met this artist, and then I think you might have had one of his pieces on your old house on the wall. You probably don't even know what I'm talking about, but I'm trying to get in touch with this artist that did the piece that was on your wall years ago in your old house, which she was talking about the demiurge. So I'm like, yes, it just was blinking at me as we're writing about it. And now you're reaching out to me after I haven't seen her in years. Like, hey, I've got this random thing I want to ask you.
Wow. So tell me, I want to know then, what does that painting mean to you? Like when you look at it, what does it make you feel?
Okay. That's a whole rabbit hole, which is discussed in the book. But and by the way, guys, at the end, I'm going to give you a code that you can go get it, for free, because you do need a code to download the book, which is Positive Head. I'll just go ahead and tell you. But so in case you don't want to hear me talk about it, you want to read the story very articulately, meticulously edited. So, gosh, it means it's a long answer. So I asked him originally, first, the demiurge is, according to Platonic philosophy, the creator being that emerged from the void to bring order to the chaos of creation. So it's this epic looking cosmic character with his hands over the planet, all the astrology around the earth. And it's like he's bringing order. It's another name for God, I guess, in a sense, according to Plato and Platonic philosophy. So I saw it years ago at Abundance, my friend Chris's event, Vajra live painting at Abundance. And I just loved it. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I'm interested. So then I asked him about, purchasing it. He called me a few days later. He goes, yep, I'll sell it to you for $7,777. Now, I never spent anywhere close to $7,777 on something as frivolous as a painting, right? But yet in that moment, I had the intuitive hit that this is actually won't cost me money. This will create more abundance. This is a good thing to support this guy and his art and his brilliant vision he's bringing through. And does it really cost me anything if it actually creates more abundance? This is the question, and I go into this stuff in the book. And so I said, okay. I didn't even typically I notoriously will like try and get the best deal and whatever, and I'm like, nope, 7777 it is. Okay, cool. Let's do it. One condition, you got to let me make payments to you because I can't write you a check for that now. And, we'll make payments of $222 a month. And, and then, once it's paid off, it's paid off. He's like, okay, I'll do that. However, you have to, I'll give you a print until you pay it off, because that's going to take you a few years, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's like putting me on car payments and let me drive the car after it's over. I want this demiurge next to me when I'm podcasting. That's like, I always jokingly say it's like my self-portrait multidimensionally because it's
because it is.
looking. Yeah. And because it is. And so, in all of us. And so I'm like, no, I want the original energetically. I don't want a print. And he's like, well, I've had a bad experience in the past. I don't really, he didn't trust me. He didn't know me. And he's had someone get his art before and then split town or whatever. I was like, look, bro, I'm not in the business of stealing visionary art. You can look me up. I'm known to be a pretty good guy, like, yada, yada. And I couldn't convince him. And then I said, okay, well, I'll leave you with this. Thanks, but no thanks, I sometimes play a game with the universe where I will ask for a sign if, and I'll say, okay, if this should happen, then I want to see X sign by Y date. And, and then I've had some really trippy results with this sort of game before. And so I kind of suggested it to him. He was like, okay, he didn't seem convinced. And it was like, okay, thanks. Let me know. Last ditch effort. Play the game. I dare you. See what happens. I didn't get the impression he was. He was not super excited about my pitch. But he did. He went on and he said, okay, this painting is really cosmic looking. If I see a UFO within the next 2 weeks, then I'm going to go ahead and take Brandon's deal. Because he'd seen a UFO one time in his life and he wanted to see another one. And so he's like, it's very cosmic looking. That's my sign. He didn't tell me he was doing this. He just did it.
Yeah.
2 weeks passed, no UFO. 3 weeks in, he ends up live painting at an event called Disclosure Fest in LA. That's all about disclosing the UFO phenomenon. And the day before Disclosure Fest, I did an ayahuasca journey actually with my friend Shane. And afterwards, he was showing me some art that he was thinking of getting. One, I was like, oh, that looks just like the artist that I met a few weeks back. And I tried to buy his painting, but he didn't go for it. I showed it to him and we determined together it was Vajra. And Shane's like, I know Vajra well. And Shane's, very wealthy and, whatever. And so he's like, I've gotten a lot of art from him. I know him well. Let me talk to him for you. So the next day at Disclosure Fest, people start spotting UFOs. Like a bunch of people spotted UFOs. Vajra ended up at first didn't see it, but then the second time he did, and he thought to himself, "Oh wow, there's a UFO." But it's been 3 weeks, whatever, with Brandon's thing. Didn't quite make the cut. Minutes later, Shane walks up to him at Disclosure Fest. Hey, Vajra. Hey, by the way, I just hung out with Brandon, and you gotta sell him that painting. He's like one of my best friends. He's so trustworthy. So Vajra's like, okay, I'll take that as a sign, Yeah. And so it didn't quite play out exactly, but enough. He called me. We made the deal. We became great friends from that. Now, what abundance came from it? I could say it cost me $7,777, or what did it earn me? Well, I have $500,000 of visionary art on the walls at the Mystic Manor because of Vajra, who set the place up as a, museum, if you will, as a gallery for visionary art. One of the first galleries in the world is my home because of that, we got to be great friends. As a result, he helped to book all the visionary artists on 17 episodes of Optimistic that have been recorded so far, handled all of it. Because he's friends with all of them, Then he was on episode 1 of Optimistic. You guys can see him live painting. It's his painting piece there has to do with the cave. What is where the people see shadows on the wall in the cave?
The myth of the cave.
Yeah. Which is
Plato's.
Another Plato thing. So, and he reads this epic poem he wrote, scribbled on the side of the piece. He's he is the quintessential artist. So you can see him in episode 1 of Optimistic. And now I randomly booked on episode 1 of Optimistic a singer named Magica Ohm. Didn't know her well. I liked her music, but no special reason that I knew of at the time. It just fell that way. Episode 1. Well, Vajra just gotten out of a 12-year relationship. Weeks earlier, him and Magica Om, she's the musical artist. He's the visionary artist. They connect that night, fall madly in love. That's like August. Oh. That's like August. No, that's July 2019. 11/11/2019, they got married here at the Mystic Manor. Whoa. And so it led to, what kind of abundance did it lead to for him? By opening up his heart and removing fear and being playful with the universe. And it led to the love of his life. It led to a great friendship. It led to, now we're actually going to have the print. One of the things on goldenkey.gift, you can buy a print of the cover, which has this epic story tied to it energetically. Like, he's going to get a percentage of those proceeds. I'm sharing 50% of everything that's spent on the site with all the people who are participating in getting the book and playing the game and all the things. And then he factors into it with that piece. So it's like, okay, that's going to go to millions of people ultimately. What type of abundance does it open up for him and me? And it's just a great example of abundance and opening your heart.
God, is it? I mean, geez, is there a better example of abundance? And okay, now after that story, tell us again what the demiurge means.
The demiurge is the creator being that emerged to bring order to the chaos of creation. So it's like, the architect of physicality.
And what's the chaos of creation right now? For me, when I look around and I see the chaos, what I see is we're not connected. We're not helping one another. We're not being a community. And that's exactly all we need to do, to just share with one another. And the abundance just flows. I love this, Brandon. I love this so much.
That's why I say on the, you'll see right on the website, you'll see, why am I gifting? Why am I sharing 50% of the wealth? Because I'm selfish, is what I say. The good kind of selfish. Like, I know the more I give away to everyone else, the more abundance I help others to create, the more comes back to me. And so essentially what happens is you guys can use the code POSITIVEHEAD to get the book for free. And then when you check out, you also have the option to get your own golden key code that it's unique to you. Anyone you share it with can go get the book for free. And the idea is, let's wake the planet up. That's the number one thing to do. When Maharishi said 1% of the population adopting these perspectives and mindfulness can shift the rest. The tipping point by Malcolm Gladwell said 10% of the population agreeing to an idea, it's over. It tips completely. And so that's a big part of it, is like, okay, the good kind of selfish. Here, share this information. It's the quickest way to wake our brothers and sisters up so that we can step into the planet of paradise we're meant to evolve into. And by the way, when they come back to play the golden game, which is, abundance manifestation game, or buy one of the exercises is doing mantra regularly, and you can get an actual 18 karat gold plated golden key necklace, just like on the cover of the book. That was,
which is gorgeous.
Which is gorgeous and designed, via the dream you just heard about. And so anyone buys that and you tell someone about the book, they buy that, I'm giving you half the money. If they play the game, I'm giving you half the money. If they get a print for their wall, I'm giving you half the money, less the product cost, but I'm just splitting it. I'm just sharing it. So it's like, this book's I'm practicing what I preach by, it's all about creating abundance and how do we truly get what we give when it's aligned. It doesn't mean go give all your money away to someone who's going to, buy heroin with it tomorrow. When something's aligned and it's aligned with your mission and who you're at, who you want to be and how you show up in the world, and it's helping, what's the intention behind the project? You can't lose. This is how it grows, Yeah. It's a giving that we receive.
Oh my God. I love this so much too. And I feel like, again, going back to the timing of this book, it's like, this is something that we all really need to understand right now, is that when we all come together, we can seriously move mountains.
Yep.
Like, it's easy to do. We just need to come together. And I think that this book is really going to help us do that as a collective.
I saw a thing the other day, and I always talk about my good kind of selfish. And I saw something the other day that I've known intuitively for a long time. I got a note from the universe, Mike Dooley, right? Who sends notes from the universe. If you guys want to get them, go to tut.com. It's awesome. But he just sends random notes from the universe written as the universe, And And so the one that I got, I've thought about this for 20 years. Like I just have this feeling when we cross over, there's going to be a celebration party of our life in a sense. Like, oh, what did you do? You know, just like there's a life review, there's all the characters and everyone that you interacted with is going to be there. And it's a celebration of you and your avatar and your journey. And that's what this note from the universe said the other day. It says, you're going to get to the other side. And when this happens, everyone's going to get up on the podium. Everyone that you helped is going to share with you, even the people you have no idea you touched their life. You're going to hear about it. And then not only those people, but the people that they impacted, you know? And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I want that party to be the most epic party there's ever been. How many people can I affect and touch? And so here, I'm gifting you the book. You guys are like ground zero as P-heads. Like, you know, you're ground zero to spread this to the world. Like you go create your code. It's your unique code. Give it to as many people as you can. And yes, there's going to be some monetary abundance that flows to you. For some people, I mean, you can get solid gold keys on the site that are $888. I mean, getting half of that is, you know, pretty significant. But less important than any money that comes your way is the karmic, you know, repercussions of imagine that person you give a code to, and it shifts that single mother's life completely. I mean, I break it down with 8 keys that are, you know, all the things that we talk about on the show, just very concisely delivered. The audiobook is another synchronicity, 3 hours and 11 minutes exactly. And that was my first synchronicity ever 20 years ago. When I first started having my spiritual awakening 25 years ago, my band had just formed. Our biggest influence starting out was 311, then Incubus, which is how Brandon Boyd, who I talked about earlier, they were probably the 2 biggest. But 311 first. And so that was my first synchronicity sign, was seeing the number 311. And I haven't really thought about it in years and years. And I was really having a challenging point a few weeks back with someone who lives at the Mystic Manor, who has my birthday, who's been the most challenging person here. And in separating from them and in finding a gracious way for them to exit, it was challenging, and it looked like it might not happen. And I literally was driving with my partner Karen, and I said, you know what? If he doesn't leave, I think I'm going to have to shut down the Mystic Manor. I can't be in that energy anymore under the same roof with this person. And I looked down, and it was 3:11, and we had 3 minutes to go 1.1 miles to our destination, and I got full chills, and I knew. In that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, that's my oldest synchronicity doubled up right there. And I knew it's going to be okay. And then he magically, like all of a sudden started complying and agreeing and agreed to leave, didn't fight me. Any of the horror stories of what I kept telling myself, Brandon, if you get the lesson, it's going to naturally resolve itself because there's no energetic reason for you to be together anymore. So I passed the test of not reacting like I had in months prior at times, where I really got to see my shadow as a gift from him, you know, of these old wounds and old energies. And none of that was lost on me, you know. And so then turn around to the day with the book, you can get it now, audio, ebook. The actual physical book is all going through Amazon, which I ask all you guys, no matter what copy you get, to go give it a review there, because that's kind of like iTunes or Apple Podcast is for books, right? So I'm running all the sales through that, but with them, they have to have a pre-order time period. So the first date that I could set up to actually have them shipped was 310. And I was like, I just had this 311 synchronicity, and then everything played out marvelously with that issue. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to set it to not 310, but 311, you know? And then the book, we had weird issues with the audio. I was done, and I was so disappointed because the whole first 10 minutes had a weird buzz in it. So I had to go back and re-record last minute. And and then that caused it to be a little bit longer. When I got the track back just a few days ago, final of the whole book, it's 3 hours, 10 minutes, and 59 seconds. Much like the day it could release, at 3:10, I pushed it to 3:11. I had my friend Stefan. I said, like, Stefan, can you just add 1 second to this? And so the book is 3:11 as well. And you just can't plan for this stuff.
You cannot make it up. Just like you can't make up those chills that you had, that confirmation right there. Like there is no making that up. There is no way you could make up all of this stuff that's happened to you.
It's not even all of it. This is just some of it.
Some of it, right? I mean, you're creative and pretty imaginative, but I don't care how creative and imaginative you are. I am. Thank you. Yeah. But,
I definitely. I maybe forced a few connections in my day.
Still, like, you cannot make all that up, and you certainly can't make up those chills. And I love that body confirmation. That is so it. And I love that you learned the lesson, and that is really what worked out the situation, because this is happening for you, like we always talk about, right?
Yep.
All happening for you, and you got it, and then it was able to just gracefully flow.
Yep.
Right.
Before we continue on with today's episode, I'd like to take a quick moment to tell you about our sponsor, NOOM. NOOM is a unique habit-changing solution that helps users learn to develop a new relationship with food. And it's not a diet. No food is considered good or bad. As we talk about on this show all the time, it's all about proper balance and having good habits. And NOOM just teaches you how to look within your own mind and make better decisions for yourself. Sounds familiar, right? It's based in psychology, eating better to feel better. It focuses on the story that we tell around food and how to feel good about our choices. And they make it all super easy to do with a minimal commitment of only 10 minutes a day, which is essential for someone like me with so much on my plate. Pun intended. So if you guys would like to try out the cognitive behavioral approach to losing weight that has led to 80% of Noomers finishing the program and 60% sticking to their goals for at least 1 year, head over to noom.com/positivehead to start your trial today. That's spelled NOOM.com/positivehead. I mean, what do you have to lose except outdated habits and perhaps a few extra pounds by signing up for the trial? Once again, that's NOOM.com/positivehead. Check it out. And that's really in the moment. I couldn't see any way out. He was like, I'm not leaving. You can't get me out. COVID. I know my right. Very just social justice warrior type person, like, and can be very stubborn and aggressive and all those things. And I'm just like, oh, if he can literally, there's, if he wants to like just ruin my life here in a sense, he could, and that's when I resigned to, you know what? Okay. I'm going to remain calm and just stick to my guns. This is what's happening. Here's what's happening. I will not be under the same. I love you and I want to love you from afar. And then it just magically, it's kind of like the book, The Golden Key, actually. The pamphlet, The Golden Key. What he says in that, Emmett Fox, he says, whenever things aren't going your way, whenever something's going wrong, all you got to do is focus on God. Focus on what it means, the abundance of God, the perfection of it all. Focus on all the things that represent source to you. And in a sense, you're bringing the issue to that pool, that pond, and watch it. He goes, and watch it magically fix itself. In a very playful, gamified, I dare you, try it, Right. And so I did that. I was doing that. And I was like, I'm just going to hold the vision of what I want. He has all the power ultimately to resist. And then all of a sudden he just turned like, boom. Yep. Okay. I'm with it. Yeah. This is actually good for me. Up. And because he did that, something really great opened up for him. Like his dream job opened up for him in another state. Yeah. Wow. So, and we're on good terms. I mean, I love him. Good. I mean, it's like, I know when he left that day, Erica, he's got my birthday, and you guys listening, that's my craziest synchronicity is all my, my dad's birthday, same as me, and on and it goes. And one of the people in the book, that's another synchronicity, who's my old business partner who betrayed me. Haven't talked to him in over 5 years. He just called me the other day. His grandmother has my birthday. His baby mama has my birthday. He goes, Brandon, I know we haven't talked to him forever. I know you maybe don't want to hear from me. However, I've been on a deep spiritual journey for 2 years. I just came out of meditation where you appeared to me in full body apparition saying we need to write a book. And I don't even write. I don't know, but what I was just shown was so intense. And I'm like literally just finishing touches at that moment. Like I just gotten the notice that the book was being shipped to me. And I'm like, well, I'm sitting here dealing with a book that you make a guest appearance in as the villain story. And, but yeah, that's another one that just happened. But yeah, with this, where was I saying before that? I get sidetracked. There's so many, but it just opened up so perfectly with this person that I was living with to Yeah, it was such a great lesson. Oh, I know what I was going to say. It really was like I felt like with him, we probably have had lifetimes of battling, and I instead of fighting, I just stuck to my guns, stayed very mature with it, and very just matter of fact, no verbal communication because he will just talk all over you. And, here's what's happening. Here's what we're doing. I'm not changing my mind. This is it. Whatever you say or do, just sticking with that. And so he changed and he left. And the day he left, it was just after the holidays. I was still down at my parents' house. I'd stayed until he left. I wasn't going to come home until he left. And I stayed extra week. And usually the weather there, they're 45 minutes down the road. It's the exact same. If it's raining here, it's raining there. We looked on the cameras here an hour after he left, and it was like a tornado hit the house. It was like the umbrella blew off my balcony. The people who were here were like, Brandon, we thought the walls were going to blow down. Where I was 45 minutes down the road, perfect. But as soon as he left, I feel like a big energetic clearing, like him and I had probably resolved for the first time peacefully conflict, where he left peacefully. I dealt with it peacefully. And Karen put it a good way. She's like, yeah, it's almost like when energy's cleared up, there's like a void there where more can come in. And so that could give that a vortex effect of like all this. I mean, it was like wind and rain, and it was like we don't get very stormy weather here. And it was like a little mini tornado hit our house right after he left.
Whoa.
I know. There's been so much.
Oh my
Vajra called me the other day too. Vajra called me the other day and goes, he was reading the book ahead of time as well. He's like, Brandon, I just had a dream last night. A bear was chasing me. I picked up the book where I left off the day before, and I just got to this part where I talk about just like when you dream at night and the bear's chasing you through the woods.
Oh, stop it.
It just keeps going. It's crazy.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah. And I can't wait. You know what I'm excited for is the stories from everyone who is reading
that's a big part.
That's insane.
It's going to be insane. It's going to be just like this self-fulfilling feedback loop of inspiration, abundance spreading, wealth spreading, sharing the keys, both monetarily and otherwise. It's just, and then that's the thing, guys. I'm all inviting you. Hey, do these exercises. They're very simple. They're very fun. They're very empowering. And over at least 88 days, I want to give people plenty of time. Because I want big manifestations, like the story I share of Dr. Bruce Lipton, who needed $10,000 for publishing when he first launched his book. Didn't know I was going to get it. Did abundance manifestation exercises, and he needed $30,000. Had no idea he was going to come up with it. And then all of a sudden, his wife gets a call from her ex-husband from decades earlier that she had forgotten they had invested in some property that just got sold, and they got 300,000, 10 times that. And so I want to open it up. And some of you are looking, it's not monetary. It's like, I want better relationships, more time, more peace, traits that I want to embody more, wisdom, whatever. There's so many forms of abundance. And so I want to give plenty of time for people to really stick to the permission slip of doing these exercises. I'm sure some people will have a week and something great happens, but there'll be some, it's like sticking with it. That's that repetition and ingraining it. And then, it's going to be real simple. You just do a little selfie video. Here's my story. And then we're going to just share them on the site. So as they start to roll in, then there's going to be a whole, success stories, with the game that is going to really inspire those who maybe come and are skeptical. They're going to see the success stories from those of you who you ground zero, holding it down, foundational people to this whole, good virus we're spreading into the world. And it's going to help to inspire them. And then, 20 people can't be making these stories up. I'm going to try it. Next thing you know, you completely help shift their life.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And what it's going to do, it's essentially the Maharishi effect, right?
That's right.
It's going to change the mind of the collective. And it's exactly the time. We're ready. We are so ready for that.
So ready.
Like beyond ready. And that's why, because you've been talking about having a book that's ready or wanting to come out for how many years now?
A long time. I've known I would write a book. I've even had readers reached out to me with their own dreams where they're like, I remember one who was like, I was in a bookstore and it was an old used bookstore and your book was, was there on the table and it had been this huge phenomenon thing in my dream. And And I'm like, yeah, cool. Okay. I know one day I'll write a book, and I'm not going to force it. I'm not until I'm ready, not until I'm really inspired. I actually started on a book before the podcast. And I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
That was great. I love it. And I may revisit it. I love the title. I love the concept. And I didn't feel quite right and ready. And here we are all these years later. And then it was just kind of like the breadcrumbs were just laid out, to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting too, because I think we just talked the other day about this on the podcast. Just following that flow of creativity and your inner passion, and like following that inspiration. And when you do that, it all just lays out for you.
Yep.
Like all these synchronicities, it's telling you like, yep, this, this.
Yep.
Here you go, Brandon. Here's this book, right? All the dreams, everybody coming into the path. It's just perfect. It's so perfect because it's time. Yeah.
Well, and one of the biggest things that you're going to see that I won't give away too much of all the keys, but you, like I said, if you've been listening for a while, you've heard me talk about all the stuff. It's just laid out in a very concise, meticulous way in the book. But one of the biggest things is I think Erica gets hung up on this idea of, yeah, okay, cool. Brandon's going to do this thing and it's great and it's exciting, but I could never do anything that's that, impactful or far reaching or create an Inc. 500 fastest growing private company like he did, or have a popular podcast like we do. Or it's like, the only reason you couldn't is because you say you couldn't.
Exactly.
Like you are literally in your own private universe. You are the star, lead director, and actor. If you don't make it, who does? Because everyone else that you see is a prop in your private movie. And I go deep into that in the book. But I think that's the thing that empowers me the most, and that leads to anything admirable or cool that I've ever done has come from. And it's not even, it's in a very healthy way. It's like, yeah, I'm the one, but don't get a big head because you're the one too. We're just reflections of one another, and you're in your own private movie. And, anything that you see that you admire is really just a reflection of you. And it's like, if you're hearing about all this and all the excitement around it and everything, it's only because it's such a close vibrational match to you that you happen to be tuning in to me and Erica right now. Otherwise, one of the billions of other things vying for your precious attention that you buy by paying attention to would be getting your attention, because it'd be a closer match to you. So all of this, all the excitement, all the synchronicity, all the fun of it, all the gamification of it, all of it is a part of you that's super, super close. And so that's one of the most important pieces that I want to drive home to everyone.
I love that, because it's really important for each of us as an individual to understand how special we are. And at the very same time, to understand that nobody is freaking special. We're all special. We're all special in our own right. We came here with our own mission that is individual to us, and only we can do it. And as you were saying all that,
no one better suited.
Exactly. And all I could hear was Jesus in my head saying, this, you see me, I can do, but you can do better. Right? So anything you see somebody doing that you want to do, I bet you can do it better. That's my challenge.
Or you can do, or you can do your version of what it is that represents better. But there's no shortage of what is. Gets back to the book. Like, you are literally one with the all abundance. Anything you consider abundant, you think of physical stuff. Let's think of it in physical matters. Okay. All the abundance, all the gold, all the, resources on this planet and all the other planets are an extension of you. You are literally the root of what it is, and vice versa. It's like, so, okay, well, why am I not seeing more abundance in my life? Because I've literally weaved a story around, that's the technical term, around my lack of abundance and how it's separate from me and how it's not a part of me. And actually, the quote I have on the back of the book, the physical book, if you get that, is abundance is your birthright, the quintessence of your being, the essence of the essence of who and what you are, the quintessence. That is and you've been sitting on on a whale fishing for minnows your whole life. Most of us have. And that's great. It's a great tool to have that contrast so that we can fully appreciate it when we open up the floodgates of abundance, and it actually means something, because we haven't been just basking in, being fed grapes for the last billion years. Like,
Right.
So it gives it that context and contrast that we needed. But if you're tuning into this particular podcast and this particular one and what it represents energetically, congratulations, because you're ready to turn the corner into that much more abundant phase of experience. And at some point, you'll probably get fed up with it and go back to being the pauper again and, experiencing that which you are not. And that's useful. It'll be useful then too. But in front of you now is the floodgates of abundance.
Yeah, nice. I love that quote. And I was going to ask you about what abundance really means, but I think you've talked about that a couple of times. But if you could just, answer in like a sentence or two, what does abundance really mean?
Great question. What abundance really means is it's synonymous with alignment. It's being in alignment with the core of who and what you are. If you are in alignment with your higher self, with source, if you're aligned with your highest, I always talk about relative truths, right? You and I are separate. That's true. You and I are one. That's true, depending on the vantage point from which we're looking and speaking. So, right now, am I the character Brandon Beecham who is, experiencing this physical life with this avatar and these traits and these personality? Yes. And I am also the source that created it all simultaneously. So abundance is tuning more into that part of the two-sided coin, right? The source from which it all flows. And the more you open up to that, the more you're tuning into the, think of reality. I always compare it to Russian nested dolls, right? Brandon's one, then there's the Brandon oversoul, then there's, the one above that. And it's all the way, it stretches infinitely in all directions because source is infinite. And at the most expanded, all of it, it's you. So as you tap into your abundance, this is longer than a sentence or two.
We're going on the Willy Wonka right now.
Yeah, I'm good. I've been known. So yeah, it is tapping into the core truth of who and what you are more and more. Opening up you had built in, what do they call it when they put on a car, like something that stops it from going so fast? There's a term for it. Someone out there is a car person, so knows what I'm talking about and screaming it out right now as they're driving. But it stops you. You can't go over 100 miles an hour. This thing prevents it, and that comes off. You're starting to open up more layers of self, and with that comes more expanded abundance, and tapping into the one who architected your experience, because you built the place and then dropped yourself into it and gave yourself amnesia. So it's like tapping in more to your demiurge part of yourself, right? And with that comes all the tools to create universes and worlds.
All the keys, huh?
All the keys.
All the keys to help you remember that. Because it really is. And you say this, I caught this in the beginning of the book. This is a remembrance.
Yep.
Right?
It's a remembrance, coming back together and realizing what's good for you is good for me, because the separation between us is a complete fabrication, holographic, illusory reality. As we also talk about with some of the science stuff, go down the rabbit hole of simulation argument and that whole thing, which is really interesting to get a grasp on, because
it is. And it ties it all in. I feel like it brings the two worlds together and helps everyone understand it a little bit more. And I think that's a really nice thing about this book too. You don't need to have any kind of background. You'll get it.
That's exactly it. It's all about getting the context so that, it's like placebos and nocebos, 30%, at least 30% of healings are placebo, like even surgery. That's how powerful your belief is as a creator. Yeah. And so part of it is what is the story that I'm telling around whatever. And so what I'm really proud of that I was able to do in this book was concisely weave that narrative and then say, okay, and don't believe me, apply these perspectives with a childlike, playfulness, and buckle up your seatbelt, because you'll be shown that this is indeed, truth.
Mm-hmm. So tell everyone that code again so they can get the book.
Yeah,
where to get it and all that.
Yeah, so you're going to go to goldenkey.gift and you will, you can choose the audiobook or the ebook. Like I said, if you want to get the physical book, you can certainly do that. That'll be linked. And regardless of which one, I ask you guys to go to Amazon and review it afterwards. So that we can get, in their algorithms of, showing it to people who are looking for new things and don't know anything about me or this book, we'll find it that way. But you put in code #head, you'll see, a section on checkout where you enter your golden key code and use #head, all one word. And then at checkout, it'll say, hey, you want to get your own code? And then, of course, you literally just sign up with the name, email, and choose the code. And then you can start giving it out to others. And, at the end of it, you can come back. I mean, you really could start the exercises before reading the full book. And if you sit down, you could do it. I read it and it's 3 hours and 11 minutes. So it's fairly short. It's about 104 pages, I think. So you could start the exercises are meant to happen over 88 days, but I recommend as a first step reading the book. Yeah, I'm going to spend a few hours and read this. And then you're going to be in such an energetic vibration that is attuned to attracting abundance. It's the ultimate jump off point. But for some of you, if you're anxious and you just want to go ahead and play, you can do that too. And so you'll see the golden game there where you just name whatever amount you want to put into it as your sort of anchor point. You can tie it to what the book is worth to you or make up an arbitrary number and I'm putting this in and I want to, and then you do exercises. Okay, what do I want to get out? I want to get more monetary abundance. I want to get more relationships. I want you write them down and you do, all these exercises around it. Then you can get the actual golden key necklace, where, there's a mantra that I recommend. I'll save it. You guys can read it on the site or on the book, but a mantra to go with that. Or you don't want to get the necklace. Hey, you're a magical being. Take your own house key and transmute that into your golden key. Something as a physical, these are all just hacks, or as Bashar calls them, permission slips to, get yourself into that state. Another thing that I'm giving everyone for free on the site is, golden key screensavers. So the cover of the book, you can say, oh, I've got an iPhone 11. Okay, cool. Download, boom. And then every time you unlock your phone, you're saying the mantra, you train yourself. Yes. I'll go ahead and say it. It's, I am infinite abundance. I am that which I seek. I am infinite abundance. I am that which I seek. So you're just using that as a tool. Like every time I'm opening my phone, every time I touch or see this key that I wear every day, and just these little things that don't take a lot of energy that are going to just help to get you into that vibrational state. Other than that, then I'm going to do a monthly key conversations. I'm calling it like monthly Zoom, and $8.88. Everyone, it's a month. You're automatically registered each month. And then we just all share and talk and share stories and, see how many of us want to come and do that. And once again, half of that's going to the people that led you there, And so if you start sharing your code and people do anything more than buy the book, you get, half of it less the product cost comes back to you. And it's real easy. You link up like your PayPal or your bank account via, back end. It's called reversion. And then once a month, we just send payouts to people. So,
wow, that's so cool. This is such a really sweet model and such a fun game. I'm really, really excited about it. And when I saw the website and I saw there's a picture of you wearing the necklace, and I thought to myself, oh, that's such a pretty necklace. I want one of those. And then I was like, oh, duh, this is the necklace.
Oh, this is the one Brandon said he's going to mail me weeks ago and hasn't yet.
But my first response was, oh, I love that. I want one, and I just think it's a beautiful design. Yeah. And the idea behind it, like that symbolism behind the mantra, it's like the more you say the mantra, all you'll need to do is see the symbol for the mantra to set in, right? Yeah.
It's so just cool. Like Joe Dispenza talks about this stuff all the time, how we are learning how our brain works and how to, retrain certain things to trigger other things. And it becomes, it's programming yourself. Yeah. Yep. And it's like once you get good at programming yourself, now you're really empowering and opening the door, empowering yourself and opening the door for more abundance and magic to flow in, Yep. And these are just simple little tools.
Putting all these keys together to help everyone realize this, Brandon.
Well, I had a lot of help, and it was, 25 years. I couldn't believe it. It's the first time I've done the math. And it was just over 25 years ago, I had my own awakening, and started down this path. So this is literally 25 years of deep exploration condensed into, 3 hours. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Really.
Wow. Well, I can't believe we were already at an hour. This went so quick. Look what happens when
it always goes so quick. Yeah. Like the blink of an eye. My goodness. Well, before we go, I just want to correct myself from earlier. It's not the myth of the cave. It's the allegory of the cave.
Allegory of the cave. That's right. That's right. And by the way, I'm sure you've mentioned, Erica's got some books in the works as well. And so since this is such an experiment, one of the things that her and I talked about, we're going to explore the conversation more, is like, once this is set up, we've got lots of people who are all about spreading this information to the world. It's like, Television Studios is optimistic. The company I set up, Television Publishing, as a DBA, or doing business as, for this book. Maybe this is meant to evolve into television publishing, which is like, okay, more high vibe, conscious, expansive media. How do we share it and get as many people involved in helping to share it and share the abundance that's created? So, perhaps we can get Erica, guys, on to allow her to share the abundance of her books with all of you too.
Well, I love this idea. I think it's just wonderful. And I also love just creating a whole new platform and a creative way to do things, because really, I mean, I want to give this out. The only reason I'm writing the book is to give it away. I want to give this information so far and so fast, right? And so this just sounds like such a beautiful way to do it.
Well, more will come back. That's the thing, the traditional way of doing it. Not to say there's anything wrong with it. It's just
lots of love. Yeah.
And lots of love. All I'm doing is trying to get my have the most epic afterlife party there's ever been. That's like pretty much all I'm working for here. The cat's out of the bag. That's goal. Kind of it.
Yeah. I love it. Good goal. This has been fun, Brandon.
This has been so awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in, and all of you for, that have just continued to support me and Erica and all the things that we've been up to and all the iterations you've seen on the show. I mean, this is obviously the latest and greatest way. It's all coming back to the same thing though. Like, what am I going to do with the abundance that is generated, that comes to me from this, into television publishing? It's going to go into more conscious media to help wake up the planet, because once you understand the only game in town, once you understand who and what we are and that it's all extensions of self, the only game in town is, how do I help wake up as many other people as possible that are suffering, because they represent an extension and part of me that's suffering. And yes, I can have a lot of fun in that process. I can live well in that process. But as I put in the book, I never liked sports cars anyway. Like, how do I use these resources to fund more optimistic episodes? Take this podcast further, launch Erica's book, on and on and on it goes. That's the plan. That's the energy of what this is about. And those of you who now have an opportunity to kind of engage and play, what I love about it is there's a select number who got to engage and co-create with me with all the retreats up until COVID we were doing. That's a higher ticket week. This is like, hey, here, get your golden key code. It's free. Share it with people. That's free. If they spend money, you get half. It's like a way for everyone to support the cause of Positive Head, Optimistic, Television, all Golden Key. It's like, that's why I'm most excited about it. It's like, I've come up with a way to really involve and include everyone.
Yes.
And, so I just appreciate you guys so much for continuing to support and continuing to hold the vibration of awakening on this planet, because we need it now more than ever. So please go over, get the book, goldenkey.gift, and that's .gift, and then use the code PositiveHead. You can download it and then get your own code if you're so inclined. And I think a lot of you will want to play the game afterwards. And I just look forward. Yeah. I cannot wait to see. Well, I can wait. I don't want to dishonor the now. I look forward to seeing all these stories roll in, because they're going to just be so inspiring to me and everyone else. And we'll see where this leads us all. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Erica, thank you for being such a good sport and coming on and
Thank you.
doing this with me. We got to do this more often.
We do. Yeah. What do you guys think? You guys want to hear us more often together? I bet they do. I'm even asking that question.
I think they do. Or it's going to be like, well, I don't know. Brandon's kind of a lot. Erica, though. No,
Right.
I think we should. We should try and maybe create something that's like a regular planned, maybe once every month or 2 months. I don't know. We're open to ideas,
Mama and
guys.
Papa hour, right? Let's do the Mama and Papa hour.
And okay, I like that. You know what I'm going to do? Maybe I'll have you, because on these monthly Zooms, what I'm going to do, one of the things they can see on the Key Conversation monthly Zoom meetups, I said I'll bring someone, a lot of times maybe special guest or whatever. Yeah. And who knows? I mean, I don't know how many people are going to be on this, but it's going to be all about asking questions and interacting, and we'll pull people on stage sometimes and just playfully engaging and interacting more. So I'm sure you'd be down to help with some of that. So.
Totally, you know I am. I'm always down. It's so fun.
Always. Eric has been
all the things.
since the beginning. Since the beginning, Eric has been. That's a whole story. I'm sure we shared at some point where you just reached out to me like, I just want to help you. Yeah. It's a great example, though, of someone manifesting what they wanted.
It's a great example. Oh, we're going to have to get into it really quick.
You're going to have to do it.
It just goes long.
Yeah. Share a little bit.
You guys, do you want to know how I am here on this podcast? So I started listening to the podcast, and I started listening to podcasts because I have a lot of information that I want to get out. And I'm like, what's out there and where do I fit in and how can I help? Right. And I found Brandon, and I love listening to him and Dalian. And it was like every time I was listening, and I was like, yeah, and this, and this, and this. And I just wanted to be a part of the conversation. And so I wound up writing you an email, which I think wound up being like hella synchronistic with what was going on for you that day. And you were like, oh my God, that's so cool. This is really synchronistic. And thanks for getting in touch. See you later. Right. Yep, and then I wrote back again, like later. And I'm like, remember what I said? I was serious. Like, I kind of want to talk to you about doing this.
You were like, I'm going to come out there. Just give me a couple hours. I want to meet up with you. I'm going to fly out from Arizona. And I'm like, okay, that's persistent.
I was so serious. I was like, listen, I'm awesome, and here's why. I gave him like a bulletproof, like a list of things.
You did.
List. and I was like, I will fly out there. Give me an hour of your time, and you'll see. Just give me an hour. And he was like, come on out. Stay at my house. Let's do this. Like, you were just like, at that point, you were like, persistence pays off. Come on out.
Yeah, you had been so persistent. And then we started off really slowly where it's like, okay, you started helping me with booking. I needed some help with booking interviews and someone that could be a good go-between, and you helped with that. Then it was like, hey, Erica, we got to know each other and got to be friends. And it's like, okay, Erica really does know what she's talking about. She's actually a doctor. I'm just some a-hole that just spews whatever. No. So then it was like, oh, I'm actually going to be traveling. You want to fill in on the podcast one day? Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. And I'm like, wow, she did a great job. Wow, she has a great podcast voice. Wow. And then it just, I'm moving into the Mystic Manor, and I'm doing this new show, and oh my gosh, I'm so much on my plate. You want to take over a couple days? And it just this natural progression where you just fully manifested what you wanted. Yeah. You didn't take no for an answer, and you just you navigated it so gracefully. I couldn't help but say, okay, you win. And here we are. And years later. That was probably really 2016.
16, right? Yeah, 4.5 years later. And what's so beautiful too is it's just meant to be, because you and I are like always on the same wavelength. We don't have to talk because we are always on the same page. Like literally. Definitely. Last week I was like, Brandon and I should do a show together. I bet you that would be cool. And then he calls me yesterday and asked to do this. And I was like, yep, there you go. Up in my head again.
There it is. Yep. It's a trip. It's a trip when you get in alignment. And so, I love that story. That's a very inspiring one, because I remember maybe in 17 or 18, Colby Rebel came on, who does was doing mini readings for people. And I remember I was like, hey, you want to get a mini reading? Colby's going to do one at the end she's going to special guest on the show. And actually she's going to be coming back soon for the first time in a while. And I remember her when she did yours, not only did she predict your child and all kinds of, she was like so spot on. I remember her saying something like, oh man, everyone should get Erica's signature now, get her autograph now, because, and you just started on the show not too long before that. And I thought that was really cool.
It was so cool. And I loved that. And I loved her, and she's just really wonderful. That reading was amazing. Yeah.
She's amazing.
She was right on.
She's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, she said with optimistic, I remember right when we started recording, she goes, it's gonna be massive, but at first you're gonna have a lot of hardship. And so it was like, hey, I'm gonna release and COVID's coming out on the same day. And, and it's been an up and down and, all around. And one of the most important things is I'm really unattached. I'm excited about this book, but I'm unattached. I don't need it to happen to feel validated or anyone other than me and you and my mom reading it. It'll reach exactly who it's meant to, and whether that's 1 billion people or 5 people, it just doesn't matter. And yes, I think it's going to go far and wide, and it's perfectly timed, and the model is so viral, and I'm unattached, and I think that one took me a long time to get, but I've really gotten there with my expectations or needs for things to show up in a certain way.
I love that because, it brings me back to that day that I came to your house and met you for the first time in the first show that we did together back then. And I quoted Carolyn Mace, who said, what's in one is in the whole. And so when you help one, you help the whole.
That's right.
Circle back.
It is in giving that we receive. It is, as St. Francis of Assisi said in the poem, the little prayer that I also write in the book, or share in the book. But this has been awesome. I feel invigorated, and I think that's it for now, guys. Yes. Once again, goldenkey.gift. Positive Head is your free code. Tell your friends, tell your wife, tell your kids. Get your own code. And let's wake some other folks up, shall we?
We shall.
We shall. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning your beautiful brainwaves in. Until next time, journey well. Love you so, so much.
Love you all.
Well, scratch that. Hold on. Wait, there's more. This is hours later. And I just received this voice memo. I'll share it with you guys from Erica, insisting that I play this song All Mixed Up by 311. The lyrics are too perfect. You've got to trust your instinct and let go of regret. You've got to bet on yourself now, star, because that's your best bet. Here's Erica's message, and then All Mixed Up by 311.
Oh my God. Okay. I can't even handle it. So today when we were talking, I didn't even mention it, but I have a lot of 311 synchronicities as well. And so I was just recollecting on that. And I was thinking about one of those moments. And I was like, what fucking song is that? And I couldn't think of the line. But then this song just came to my mind. And I was like, oh, it's this song. And so I looked it up. And I think that we need to end the podcast today with this song. I know you normally don't do it for soul shares, but maybe throw in a quick, we're doing this anyway, because listen to the beginning of this song. I'm like a minute 22 in, and I think it just has to be. Okay? Bye. Love you.